Hi. So before we start, by show of hands, I want to ask you how many of you know someone within your close circle of friends or family members who got a divorce? That's a lot of hands. And now I want to ask you if you have someone within the second circle of your friends or family members, so that would be a friend of a friend, right? Who got a divorce. That's a lot of hands as well. So I want you to keep in mind that big number of show of hands that we've just seen as we talk about what we talk about today. So I am a mediator. I help people come to understandings and work out conflicts and disputes and oftentimes part ways in the most amicable way. A few months ago, Aaron and Dana came to my office. And you know, they were a young couple, and they came with a baby because they couldn't find a babysitter, and the baby was, lying there in the corner, and they were telling me that they want to get a divorce. And I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at their tired eyes, and the baby is, 6 months old, and I understand that they're going through a hard time. And I'm looking at them, and I'm thinking to myself, are they sure? Are they sure that they're doing the right thing, that they're making the right choice? How do they know that what they're experiencing is reason enough to call it quits? How do they know that it's not a marital crisis or a personal crisis, that what they're experiencing is good enough reason to part ways? And then a few weeks later, John and Mary, all names are made up, of course, right? Come to my office, and they're a couple in their mid-40s. They have 4 kids, okay? And John, who's an investment banker, lost his job 2 years before. And they were going through financial difficulties, and there was a lot of stress, and they were looking for a divorce. And I'm looking at them as well, and I'm wondering to myself, how do they really know? These people have been married for quite a while. They have 4 kids together. How do they really know that this is the right choice for them? How do they know that what they're experiencing is not a personal crisis or a marital crisis? And the thought of this has been bothering me for a very, very, very long time. How do you know that you actually qualify for divorce? When you get a mortgage, you need to qualify. And when you take any kind of loan, you need to qualify. And when you apply for a position, you need to qualify, right? When you adopt a child, you need to qualify. But when you break a family, and a family is a social institution by definition, you really don't. You can do whatever you want, right? You can have a fight, be in my office the next day, or someone else's office, or an attorney's office, and pretty quickly it will be over. So how do you actually know? And the term of qualifying for divorce, when you think about it, it might raise some eyebrows, because we live in a society where it's all about personal freedom. And our personal freedom must never, ever be limited, and that's a good thing. However, it makes me sometimes wonder if, when it comes to divorce, if it doesn't come with a price tag. Because how do you know that you're not rushing to it? Okay? The main concern that I have is that people would be impacted by what I call the divorce bug. Because you have to understand, divorce is an epidemic. A pretty recent study by the name of "Breaking Up is Hard to Do Unless Everyone Else is Doing It Too," and we all saw the show of hands, right? Indicates that if someone from your close circle of friends or family members got a divorce, your likelihood for getting a divorce increases by, are you ready for this? 75%. If someone within your second circle of friends got a divorce, so that would be a friend of a friend, not even your own friend, your likelihood of getting a divorce increases by 33%. So I'm sure you'll all agree with me that divorce is contagious. It's an epidemic. All of a sudden, people go through a marital crisis, and it becomes an option. Now, You have to understand that people who go through a divorce become extremely overwhelmed because anything and everything that they have in life is on the table. Their money, their kids, their home, everything that is life to them. And this is true for heterosexual couples, gay couples, and even people who are not married but live together a life and raise kids together. Okay, so when you talk about parting ways, it's a huge deal financially and for the kids, etc. And so, because I was thinking about it so much, and I was thinking how important time is in that respect, in terms of giving people tools during a certain period of time to evaluate for themselves and for themselves only, because no one can give you the answer but yourself. Do they really qualify for divorce? Which means, in other words, are they making the right choice? Because once you start talking legalese within a marriage, instead of talking love, there's no way back. It's not going to go back to what it used to be. And so it pretty quickly snowballs from there. And so there is a set of 3 questions, 3 very simple questions that I suggest that people answer to themselves within a course of approximately 6 months. And that they write down their answers so that they can evaluate for themselves within being so overwhelmed, right? Because you get very overwhelmed when you start thinking that anything and everything that you have in life is not going to be on the table. You may lose your kids. You may not see them as often. You may lose half of your money, okay? And so you sit down and you answer those scaling questions to yourself to see over time, not to rush through anything, if you're making the right choice. And the first question is, on a scale of 0 to 1, 0 being the least, 0 to 10, I'm sorry, 0 being the least and 10 being the most, how much do I really want to stay in this relationship? Now, if you consistently, over time, over the course of 6 months, answered 0, 1, 2, 0, 0, 0, 1, that means you're out. You're done. You're done with this relationship. But if one day was a 0, and the next day was an 8, and the next day was a 4, and the next day was a 6, that means you're going to find a therapist. Because what you're experiencing is a marital crisis. That means you're not consistently checked out of the relationship. So that should give you a pretty good indication of how checked out you are from that relationship. Question number 2. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much have I been doing more of the same within my relationship? Okay? You would be amazed how much people do the same things over and over again, and then again in different ways, and then with increased intensity because they get frustrated and expect different results. So this would help you evaluate, have I been doing maybe something different and seeing maybe that may work? Okay, and so you scale it. If you've been doing more of the same and it's been 10, 9, 8, more of the same, more of the same, more of the same, maybe it's time to try something different and see if that works. Question number 3. On a scale of 0 to 10, how responsible, that's a great one, how responsible am I for the breaking of this relationship, for the deterioration of this relationship? Now, here's where you want to be. You want to be around 5. Why? Because it's a tango. You both should be pretty much equally responsible for how that relationship is going, right? But what people tend to think is they tend to look at things through cognitive biases. And they tend to think that if the relationship is going great, it's because I must be wonderful. I must be handling things great. But if the relationship is not going that well, it must be you. You were annoying me. You were doing this. You were losing your job. You were doing all those things that caused us to part ways or to have problems in our relationship. And that's a cognitive bias. So we want to be around 5 so that we can recognize our share of responsibility in where the relationship is. And if we see that over time we're not accepting responsibility, we're at the 0 there or the 1, it will surface it up for us. We will see it on paper over that course of time. These tools are supposed to help people, and they have helped these couples, John and Mary and Aaron and Dana, that I've mentioned before, as much as other couples, answer that question to themselves and to themselves only. Do I really qualify for divorce? Thank you.